Hello, everybody. Again. I would like to start, and then I leave the speech to my colleague Laura, with an Italian word. I'm a teacher of Italian, so please forgive me, but I want to promote the Italian language. Can you hear me? Okay. You will understand why I'm sitting and not standing. I'm a Montessorian, and you will see why. I want to start with a new adjective in Italian dictionary, quite new one, Montessoriano. Montessoriano comes from the name of Maria Montessori, an Italian lady, scientist, doctor, and pedagogist. Montessoriano can be translated into English and I suppose many other languages into Montessorian. Who is a Montessorian then? A Montessorian is a person who fosters other autonomy. Is a person and not a teacher. I'm talking about a person who is prepared to learn from others. Is a person who is prepared to change his or her mind and opinion. Is a person who is able to stay aside and rejoice for other success. Is a person who is able to act freely, even inside structured schemes. So this is a Montessorian, and this is our methodology for adult learning based on Montessori method. So I leave
Thank you,
Laura the speech to go a bit deeper inside this. I'm sorry, time is very small, and we will try to explain as much better as possible. Okay?
Okay, that's okay. Okay, we will start with this very short video about the Montessori problems during fascism period in Italy. Just a very few notes.
It is in Italian.
It's in Italian. No audio. Yes,
it's not.
Benito Mussolini, dal balcone di Palazzo Venezia, indica nel libro e nel moschetto i pilastri della concezione fascista dell'educazione. Sono anni tristi quelli per l'Italia. Si vuol fare della generazione nata e cresciuta durante il regime l'incarnazione degli ideali di potenza che sono alla base dell'ideologia fascista. Perciò il bambino fascista è un balilla dal passo marziale che monta la guardia al palazzo del dittatore, che prova il passo romano durante le ore di ricreazione, che sfida imparata o si esibisce negli stadi dove si esalta la forza e la prestanza fisica, triste caricatura di quella che i grandi chiamano la preparazione alla grande ora della storia, la guerra. È proprio di questo periodo l'ordine di Mussolini di chiusura delle scuole montessoriane in Italia, cioè delle scuole che applicavano il metodo Montessori, poiché questo metodo si basava sul libero sviluppo delle capacità creative del fanciullo e contribuiva a formare quindi dei cittadini poco malleabili e inclini a discutere le direttive del regime.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a small introduction. We left it in Italian because we think there is no need to translation. In 1936, Mussolini became the Duce in Italy, and he tried to transform all young people into small soldiers, all dressed in the same, with the same uniform, all behaved in the same way. What he did, he closed Montessori schools, which were opened firstly in beginning of 1900. And first schools in Rome were opened 1907. So they closed the schools because in those schools they tried to create free individuals like they do now. And we can start with the manual now. Okay, we go into the real practical implementation of the methodology. Okay, we will quote Maria Montessori some words to better explain why Montessori methodology can be applied to adults. She wrote, On the first book she wrote in the first books she wrote in 1912, the Montessori Method. The first publication in English, she wrote, "This book of methods, compiled by one person alone, must be followed by many others. It is my hope that starting from individual study of the child educated with our method, our other educators will set forth the results of other experiments. These are the pedagogical books which await us in the future." And we hoped to writing the manual that it will be one of the many other books written following this methodology. I just had few comments from some Montessori experts with children. They claim that, well, this methodology is not where it was structured for children, for their mind, for their lack of background. And but we also had very useful comments from other experts saying that, well, she studied the child, but she studied the child as a future adult. So this is from where we started for the application of this methodology with our students in our institution. Lingua Più started the Montessori method for foreign languages also with adults in 2008. Our institution, Lingua Più, since 2008 has been offering courses for language teachers on the application of Montessori for adults, also listed on the Grundtvig database in service training. Why did we do it? Because Maria Montessori has a strong connection with our town, Città di Castello in Italy, where we live, and my colleague will tell you later this connection, about these connections. And so we started to study her methodology and also participated in many conferences of the matter. The capital of our region, Umbria, is one of the places where Montessori methodology is more spread. And there are also, and it is also, according to our research, is the only place where Montessori method is applied until secondary upper school. Okay, in shortly, these are the connections our town has with Maria Montessori. She printed her first book, The Method of Scientific Pedagogy, in Città di Castello in 1909. Still in Città di Castello, in the same year, Maria Montessori held the first training course for teachers. The picture you see here is the main entrance of the fantastic villa where she had the first course, and where we also hold our courses for teachers. Later, Maria Montessori started some primary schools in Città di Castello, 2 little country schools, where she applied her methodology together with her friends, the local Baroness Alice Franchetti. This terrace you will see, it's a fantastic terrace where you can see you can have a wonderful panorama of our valley, and you will see it later. Okay, my colleague Roberta and I, we started testing the basic Montessori principles in adult training because we needed to find new effective approaches for teaching adults. Those principles, the basic principles of Montessori method, match with our methodology, soft skills and teaching attitude. And also because studying her life and her works, Maria Montessori represents for us a model as a woman and an educationalist. How we did it? How did we start? We started studying and adapting the 12 Montessori principles. I think that my Dutch colleague will talk Polish colleague will talk about the 12 Montessori principles later, and that we considered appropriate for adults. We can also carry on researches made by our own institution and also under the MMLT project. We also had the previous Leonardo da Vinci project in which we took part about the application of Montessori method to adults in bed. The result was that we are currently the only expert on the structured application of Montessori method for adults, daily applied inside our school. Okay, but of course, writing the manuals, we had to face many challenges. The biggest were we wished to prepare a manual based on a well-known methodology with the application to a different target group. And this was a big effort, big issue, because we were going to touch an icon, so we had to be very careful about that. Also, we wished to supply something really innovative, transferring our knowledge in an effective way. But how to transfer it, that was the big challenge. And also let readers understand that the methodology is based on the teacher's role and the teacher approach. That was the big change, and I will tell you how later. Montessori materials for adults in language teaching now do not exist in our methodology, and we believe it can't exist. Any material, even a pencil, can be Montessorian. It is not the material itself, but it is the way it is used. It must be used in a Montessorian way. Show how modern tools, like videos, for example, can really foster students' autonomy. What we mean for teachers' self-liberation. I don't know how many of you saw the manual, had the chance to read the manual, but that was quite a challenge also for me, because when you read the manual and you find self-liberation, this is something I have to face every day, because every day I have to tell myself, well, you have to change your mind, you have to change your attitude. And it seemed hard at the beginning, but then it is an habit. So I hope all of you will have the chance to live this self-liberation. Also, of course, reading the manual, teacher, it is very difficult to catch this, and I think that only the daily application will help you understand this new attitude. Okay, let's go through the practical things. What's new in this methodology? Each student can learn independently a foreign language with the right approach. Any kind of material, even a pen, can foster students' autonomy. It depends on how it is presented by the teacher and used by students. This is different from traditional application with children, because you know that the Montessori method with children is typical for the material they use. But remember, now the materials are used every day. They are quite common tools. But when they were studied and applied, it was 1909, so beginning of 1900, and they were very innovative. So now the use of the tools is not the real change, but it is the way they are used every day, according to children's skills, ability, and also character, personal character. The diary, the student's checklist, the necessity to know deeply each student, also in an informal environment, the use of mind maps to foster autonomy.
1 minute,
Yes.
Laura, I would like to interrupt you to translate something to teachers.
Okay.
No, because everybody understands, but I would like to underline something.
Okay.
Ce mi s-a părut mie extraordinar la metoda aceasta este că, spre deosebire de orice altă metodă tradițională, partea de predare pornește de la nevoile elevului, al cursantului, și nu de la ceea ce ne propunem noi ca obiective să atingem cu cursanții. I explained only this part with checklist.
Okay.
Students checklist, which is very important.
Yes.
Setting up the course.
Yes, the student checklist is very important for them, because at the beginning they can fix their aims, their objectives, and during their learning path they can check it and recalibrate the course if it's necessary. They can control the progresses they've made and the problems they have. So in this way they cannot disappoint their expectations. This is a valuable tool. This is useful also for the teacher, because teachers in this way they can monitor also their own what they did personally. So if they respected their students the way they promised at the beginning, if they really followed the students' expectations and helped them develop their own responsibility to get these aims, to reach these objectives. The diary. I think I've been practicing this for years, and the writing of manual also gave me the incentive to go deep in this, because I think the diary, in my personal opinion, is the real revolution, because the diary replaces the material, the didactical material. In the diary, they can write what they really perceived during the lessons. They cannot use, they're not allowed, they're not invited to use the diary during class, but they are invited, sorry, not Montessorian, they are invited to write their notes at home. Writing their notes at home on what they really understood, what they really perceived during the lesson, this is what the real responsibility they acquire, because taking notes, then when they take note, they not concentrate on the lesson. But when they are at home, then they have to really remember what we did together, what they have to write down, what they really understood, what they didn't really understood, and what they didn't understand at all. And I noticed during my experience that this is the biggest thing, because when I sometimes give them some didactical preset material, they don't accept it anymore, because paying attention and taking their responsibility during the lesson, they get their own idea of the language they are learning, they are hearing. And after this, when they're at home, they ask themselves questions. They're not used to the material, the traditional material anymore. They cannot, I don't know how to use it. This material creates confusion. During the lesson, I just take notes, like hieroglyphics. I sometimes can't even read what I wrote, but they do. They take my notes, these papers, and they work on them. They start from my notes, writing their diary, and that diary is their own syllabus and their own textbook. As a matter of fact, lately I started to give them some exercises from book, and they didn't know what to do with them, because they were not used to it, because they had their idea of the structures, of the grammar, of words, because they heard them in a certain way in videos, on listening exercises, just talking. So what is the real revolution here, from my personal experience, and that I like to share with you, because I think it's a big revolution, is that they are not bound to the textbook, but they are bound to themselves. So this is the real Montessori concept, the development of your own responsibility. So you are aware of what you're doing and what you want to do, because when they get back in class, where they observe the silence, the minute of silence, but then they can't wait to ask me questions, because of course when you do your own learning path, then you start asking yourself questions. You're active, you don't depend on the teacher. In this way, I also experienced that they are not scared to face new concepts, new grammar structures, new words, but also they want them. So the language can be a unique process, and because they wanted that. A last comment about the teacher as a facilitator. Is an observer. This is typical in a Montessori classroom for teachers, the teacher observes the children and decide what activity is better for every child. And during the project period, some experts or some teachers suggested we should change this word, this term, but we think it is the correct one, and we insist using this because observing your students, you can really understand them. You can really understand their inner motivation, apart from the learning of a language for work, for study, etc. And observing also can teach you what they really need. I mean practical things like grammar structures, vocabulary, pronunciation tips, etc. The use of no use of preset syllabus and preset class, also this is a big change, because I never give my students a preset textbook. I try to know them from the beginning. I try to understand what they really need, and then I work on their need. Every day they ask me what they want to do, what they need to. In this way they feel you're really following them, you really take care of them, not just follow the book. It's a very difficult thing for us. I mean, it requires a lot of work, previous work. In the past, to prepare a lesson took me 5 minutes. Now it's longer, much longer, because my class is in my mind. I have to leave my students to get what I want them to get. But I don't want them to notice what I did. I have to carry them on and lead them step by step, but I don't want them to realize that. So they must always be sure that they are the center of the learning. And this is very difficult, because you have to, of course, have in mind everything, and every second of the lesson you have to how do you say? You have to you have to forecast. You have to know what to expect, and so it's. For us, I tell you, it will be more work, but then it is. Well, the satisfaction is very high. I got very, very good results from my students, and they appreciated it, and also they understand. They got improvements in a short way, and they learn very fast a new language because they find their inner motivation every day. They're responsible for what they want to be responsible for what they do. Ok, io ho finito.
Stop.
Yes. Posso chiedere se hanno domande? Do you have any questions? I know it's very difficult, because it's a very kind of different attitude we should keep.
There is a lady there.
Yes.
How many students are in your class?
Oh, it depends. I got up to 25 students. And you know what happened? And this is the biggest surprise ever, because I noticed that everyone did their diary. And at the end of the class, at the end of the course, I had 25 different diaries. So this is the real personal textbook, because everyone perceived the lessons the personal way, and sometimes if they agree we can share diaries, and so it's even more useful. And when at the end of the course, when they go through the pages, they will remember everything, because they have their own handwriting and they have own personal idea of what they did.
How many sessions does the course have? Does the course have a number of sessions?
Depends on the type of course. Depends on depends on the hours.
The curricula are the same.
Yeah.
This is just an approach. The level from the European framework is still the same. We didn't mean to change it. It's not to change the curriculum. I mean, you know that if you want to pass from a level to another one, it would take about 70 hours of study, more or less. So that's the same.
Are your students at the same level? How do you select the students?
We try to have the same level in the class, but it is not always possible.
In languages, it's almost impossible.
Yes. But of course, they're different in age, in background, in the profession. So, and that's a good. In the past, it was like a difficulty, but then now it's not, because they do their own, like according to their own skills and background. Yes.
One question: how many hours do you have per week?
Well, depends on the type of course. We can have once or twice or 3 times or every day. Yes, of course.
For us, this
How
is all.
many teaching hours?
For us, this is also part of the Montessorian offer, let's say that. We never preset the amount of time per week. We never do that. We ask students to do that. If they are in individual lessons, of course, it's easy. If they are in a group, we just start with the first lesson, and then it's up to the students to decide how many times they have available for studying and and this is also part of our methodology, not preset how many hours, the frequency, say that.
Thank you. And one more question: do you use co-teaching? It is something specific to Montessori.
I can't understand.
Sorry.
Co-teaching. Two or more teachers?
Yes.
Co-teaching, you mean co-teaching?
Yes.
What do you mean for co-teaching? More than one
If
teacher?
there are
Yes.
more teachers
Yeah.
participating in the teaching groups.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every group has at least 2 teachers.
And that's also a big job, because you have to interact,
To
coordinate, and the same vision, yes, and exchange opinions for the students, yeah.
And there should be empathy between the teacher and the student.
Yes. We have to have empathy.
The lady here?
Suppose a student came to you for pleasure, just to improve his language skills, and another student came there to pass the TOEFL test or the Cambridge test, which requires.
Of course, it's a different.
They wouldn't study together.
They wouldn't study together.
Okay.
We start with the entry test to set up more, to have an idea of the level, but I'm talking about an idea because in languages it is difficult to have the same level, also in your native language, it's difficult. Also we ask them, we give them the chance to tell us what their expectation in many terms, also and they won't study together. Even if they are at the same level, they won't study together.
Remember that this method requires a lot of time. We wrote the manual, we did the piloting as Kostas, the coordinator, told you about, both online and face-to-face. And the online was 40 hours. We had direct contact with our teachers around the world for 40 hours, and it was just the beginning, because it's an approach that we have to live and experience day by day.
Takes much longer than 40.
Yeah. Ok, io ho fatto. Posso finire?
No, you stay there.
Ok. Who's Carmen?
No, Carmen? Who's next?
Yes. Next.
I just wanted to ask, yeah, it's okay.
Grecia.
Do you formally assess
sorry.
I'm sorry. Do you formally assess them at the end of the course?
I'm getting old, I can't hear anything. I'm sorry. Laura, did
Ha
you...
detto se fai un formal assessment alla fine del corso. Sì.
What do you mean for formal assessment?
Test.
I mean, are all the students aiming for some sort of qualification?
Yeah, we do this just to make students happy because, you know, in Montessori method, exams are not, they don't used. But many of our students want to have a certificate. And for us, as we are a formal school, private but formal school, and if we issue a certificate, we need to submit exams, all kind of exams, to certify their level, because we have to use the framework level. Yes, we do, because they ask for. This is a deal between our methodology and what is required by the educational world.